Well, I'm here with Lee Powell at Garland Nursery. And Lee, we're going to be talking about hedges. And you've come up with some ideas today that are a little bit different than the ubiquitous arborvitae, photinia, English laurels. So let's just dive right in and talk about them.
Okay, so on my end, I've got a boxwood. This one's called Green Tower. The nice thing about this boxwood is it gets about 8 or 9 feet tall, but it only gets about 3 or 4 feet wide.
Nice.
So in place of something like an arborvitae, you could use one of these and have a nice tight hedge along your side property line or something like that.
Yeah, and we should say too, right up front, that everything on this cart is going to be evergreen, which is really nice for a hedge.
Yeah, most people when they're trying to screen off something are looking for evergreen plants, and we have the great climate here to be able to support them.
Now this smaller one, it looks, maybe it's just because of the container, but it seems like it's awfully short for a hedge.
So Green Spire euonymus, this will end up getting probably 7 feet tall and only a couple feet wide.
Oh,
and it makes a nice small hedge. I mean, you could trim it and keep it low if you wanted to,
Sure.
or you can let it grow up and screen at the 5 to 6 foot level as well.
Now this one seems to be blooming.
If you want a fast hedge that is evergreen, really tough, drought resistant, the Waxleaf Privet is a really good one.
Yeah.
It'll grow probably 3 to 4 feet a year once its roots get established. Now it doesn't stop at
That's right.
6 or 7 feet, so you will get a giant hedge unless you start trimming it.
Well, and this is probably a good time to talk about, how to plant a hedge, because you can't, you gave us a cute little saying about how to pick your plants. How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's patience versus dollars. And with something like this Waxleaf Privet, I mean, they'll grow probably 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
But it's going to take them 7 years to grow that wide. So if you're trying to get an instant hedge, you could put it 3 feet on center, and within a year you'd have your neighbors blocked
Certainly.
out. But
And of course,
you're planting a lot more of them, of course.
and you're also going to be pruning a bit more too, so you need to keep all those things into respect. Now,
Absolutely.
I have to say, Lee, I've got some different hedges in my gardens at home, but I had not expected to see this.
So this is compact strawberry tree. It's a relative of the strawberry madrone, which is a native here. And it does get pretty big and wide if you were to just let it grow.
Sure.
But if you trim it nicely each year, the new growth is fantastic.
lovely.
Nice glossy green growth. And it gets a bell-shaped flower and a orange and red berry on it in the late summer.
Beautiful. And I love the dark foliage of this plant.
Sky pencil holly is another really good thin hedge. Now that patience versus money, I mean, this only grows about 18 inches wide, so if you want a solid hedge, you're going to be putting quite a few of these in. But if you're in a really tight space and you don't have much width, this is a great one. It'll get probably 7 or 8 feet tall and 18 inches to 2 feet wide.
Which is nice to remember for the houses that seem to get smaller yards all the time. When you only have 6 feet between two houses, you don't really want to go very wide.
Yeah.
Now, I love that you have picked a Ceanothus, because they're such beauties when they bloom, and then the nice foliage year round.
Yeah, that's a great flowering hedge plant, very fast growing. Again, if you want an instant hedge, this will grow probably 3 feet a year. But it's also one that you can trim back and keep it probably 4 or 5 feet and have just a mass of blue blooms in the spring.
Yeah.
The honeybees love it. The only downside of this one is it's probably, I would consider it a shorter lived hedge plant. I would say probably in the 10-year range. So, you need to consider that also when you're buying.
And, if you're only going to be in a place for 5 years, that's fine, but at least be aware of that.
Yeah.
And this is actually one of our native areas.
It is. Pacific Wax Myrtle, native to Southern Oregon. I'm not sure if natively it gets all the way up here, but it does very well if you have a well-drained spot. It's very drought resistant, it's deer resistant, the new growth is fantastic, and if you keep it trimmed, it bushes out and forms a really solid hedge.
It does, and it really is a lovely fragrance to the leaves as well.
Absolutely.
So you've got a lot of choices here. There's some wonderful selections with blooms, but they're all evergreen. Some take sun, some take shade. Whatever your questions are, feel free to come on down to Garland Nursery, talk to Lee and the great staff here, and pick out the plants that are just right for your hedge. Thanks so much, Lee.
Thank you, William.